Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics on Channels Television. I'm Millicent Walker. On the news this hour, Supreme Court today adjourns a verdict on the application by the PDP and Emeka Ihedioha for the review of the Imo governorship judgment, which declared Hope Uzodimma as governor. The EFCC chairman is asking for the extradition of the former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Alison Madueke, over allegations of fraud. And reprieve for some of the deregistered political parties as the Federal High Court gives an interlocutory order on INEC over the matter. Welcome everyone to the program. Now, there appears to be an uneasy calm in the presidency regarding the revelation of a spat between the Chief of Staff to the President, Abba Kyari, and the National Security Advisor, retired Major General Babagana Monguno. In a leaked memo dated December 2029 and sent to the service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police with the President and the Chief of Staff, as well as some ministers in copy, the NSA accused the President's Chief of Staff of usurping the powers of the President and interfering on issues of national security. General Monguno explains that many gains recorded in the efforts to secure the nation are being undermined owing to the interventions of Mr. Kyari, who allegedly presides over meetings with service chiefs and heads of security agencies and also diplomatic officials in the absence of the NSA. He therefore directed the security chiefs not to take orders from the Chief of Staff, as he is not the head of the security forces, and neither has he sworn to an oath to defend the country. Now, sources in the presidency, however, kept mum over the matter when Channels Television attempted to get their response. In other news, one thing the presidency is willing to speak about, and that is fake news. And so the federal government is warning everyone to be careful with what they consume as news, and particularly what they share with others in the social media space. Well, the warning is coming in the wake of a story making the rounds that President Muhammadu Buhari would be traveling to the United Kingdom for 20 days, after which he would proceed to Saudi Arabia. Mr. Additioner adds that members of the First Family, top government officials, and other key institutions are also object of the orchestrated falsehood coming from those he described as enemies of national cohesion.
Yes, in the past couple of days, there's this trend that shows that there's an orchestration of fake news, the most virulent, the most evil and pernicious, that is capable of generating restiveness and throwing the country into a tailspin. Since about yesterday, it's been trending that President Muhammadu Buhari will travel to London for 20 days. And from there, he will go to Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. And from there, he will go to Austria. And then he will be away from the country till April 4, 2020. We have got many calls, many inquiries, whether this was true or not. But of course, there is no truth to it at all. It's just the handiwork of mischievous people who want to cause disaffection, dissatisfaction in the country. We know that Nigeria has been passing through challenging times in the past couple of weeks, particularly due to security challenges. Now they have added disinformation to it.
To all the stories now, the Supreme Court has adjourned to March the 2nd hearing of the application filed by the All Progressives Congress seeking a review of its judgment on the Zamfara governorship election. The court also adjourned to the same date hearing of the application filed by sacked Imo State Governor Emeka Ihedioha for a review of the judgment that removed him The adjournment of the Zamfara election hearing follows the inability of the APC to serve the processes on 8 of the respondents who were not in court, neither were they represented. Counsel to the applicant, Mr. Robert Clark, applied for the adjournment to enable him serve the processes on the 141 to 148 respondents. The adjournment of the Imo governorship application hearing was predicated on a request by Mr. Ihedioha's counsel, Mr. Kanu Agabi, who said he needs a little time to file some processes before the court. Lawyers to the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, and INEC did not oppose the application. Well, we still have a lot of people who have been reacting to what's, the review, which was initially scheduled for today. And we have many of such respondents who have said a number of things on that. We have our correspondent, Eitokwe Kutei, who brings us an update from Owerri, the state capital.
Good afternoon and welcome to Owerri, the Imo State capital. It's no longer news that the Apex Court has fixed today for the review of its judgment of the 14th of January 2020 that led to the emergence of Senator Hope Uzodinma as the governor of Imo State and sacked Right Honorable Emeka Ihedioha. But a few minutes ago, news filtered in that the matter had been adjourned till March 2nd, 2020. After Chief Kanu Agabi, the counsel to Emeka Ihedioha, told the court that some processes are still being filed. It could be recalled that since the judgment of the 14th of January that led to the emergence of Senator Hope Uzodinma as governor, the APC and PDP in the state have continued to trade words. Just yesterday, the Imo State Police Command banned all protests and rallies in relation to this judgment. However, we'll be speaking to the cross-section of Imo indigenes to know their views about today's adjournment.
It's very surprising, but I like it. In order to dance tension. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that court cannot give you what you didn't ask for. And court will give judgment based on evidence before them.
I still believe that protest is a constitutional right for every person in the Imo life. You have the right to protest whenever you feel concerned over a certain issue. But because of the love and the love we have for the state, we want it to be peaceful. That is why every party must shoot their sword.
As we've always done, we'll continue to keep you abreast with events and happenings around here in the Imo political space. It's back to you in Lagos.
Many thanks, Eitokwe Kutei there with the latest. Well, staying with legal matters this time, on anti-graft issues, the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Mr. Ibrahim Mago, he's pleading with the government of the United Kingdom to extradite former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Diezani Alison Madueke, to answer charges of alleged money laundering. Mr. Mago alleges that Mrs. Alison Madueke and her collaborators stole not less than $2.5 billion from government when she was minister. He says the commission has been trying to extradite her, who has been in protective custody since she left the country at the inception of President Buhari's government.
This is total amount. If you look at her and her group and her followers, I mean, you are not taking to anything less than $2.5 billion. So they should bring back the money. And return her to her country. This is her country. She has not relinquished the citizenship of Nigeria yet. Don't mind. So thank you for this. Please help us put pressure on the international community to return her, to extradite her back to Nigeria.
Perhaps, more on this issue is a guest who has just joined us, and we'll be asking questions as to what does it really take to get Mrs. Madueke to be extradited over the allegations against her. We speak to a senior advocate who joins us in our Lagos studio, Mr. Chinonye Obiagu. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right. So perhaps I've, asked the question already, and that is, what does it really take to extradite one to answer charges in one's country?
Well, it depends on the extradition laws of the country of request and the country of abode, and also extradition treaty. Mrs. Madueke is in the United Kingdom, and Nigeria has a extradition treaty since 1933
with the United
Kingdom. So it is for the Attorney General of the Federation to make a request to the equivalent in the United Kingdom, and if the request is sent into the court will make an order for extradition. It is not administrative procedure; it's a judicial procedure. So I was expecting that Attorney General should have applied to a magistrate court in the United Kingdom requesting for extradition order.
But should we be under the impression that they have made this application, because we have the acting chairman of the EFCC begging to have the ex-minister extradited?
Well, I mean, I would be surprised if a court makes an order and we'll be here begging, because a judicial order should be obeyed. So extradition order is a judicial process. And if the chairman of the EFCC is saying that an order is made for extradition and they're not complying with it, that's a different thing. But I do not think, I'm not well informed about the stage there, but I think it's proper to take the step that Attorney General should make a request to the minister, and application should be made in court for extradition order. And when that happens, I mean, United Kingdom should obey the court order, and that should be complied with. But having said that, I've also learned that there are charges against Ms. Madeke in United Kingdom. So if you're making that request, you need to be aware of the fact that your extradition of Ms. Madeke should not truncate the pending proceedings in the United Kingdom.
So many people are still asking why there appears to be this delay. We know that in 2019, the judge said that she needed to be brought to answer these charges and threatened to even throw the matter out. This is after the EFCC counsel said it should be postponed indefinitely, and then the judge said, no, we can't clog the dockets based on this issue. And so they've been given a time, and that is March 2020. So what are the risks? Are the EFCC racing against time? What do you think?
No. I mean, EFCC actually putting the horse before the cart, because there's no trial in absentia in Nigeria. So EFCC should have, first of all, secured the defendant in the territory of Nigeria before even filing the charges. So even if the court strikes it out, they can come back anytime she's brought to Nigeria, because striking out is a discharge, not an acquittal. I was expecting that rushing to court with those charges does not add value to the proceedings. It doesn't. You can wait and get her back. So far as you file the charges, you can use the charges to get a extradition order, and anytime she's here, you rearrange her, and the trial will go on. So the court is right that you cannot bring a charge when the defendant is not yet in the country, because you cannot, and you can't try in absentia. So if the court gets the case out of the docket and strikes it out, it doesn't stop. Time does not run against such offense, criminal offense.
All right. So there's really nothing there with keeping alive the extradition process. For
Exactly. There's no risk. If it's no sufficient risk, if that charge is struck out, it's not.
Just quickly before we let you go, because we need to take a break now, and it is on what we've heard today about Imo State. I mean, were you surprised? Many people were wondering. Indeed, these are processes that some of the lawyers and they've postponed this because it appeared the Supreme Court was ready to review the judgment. But what's your reaction to what you think is playing out on the Imo State governorship judgment?
Yeah, I think the proceeding is going on well, because you have to serve the respondents before the court can, adjourn jurisdiction to hear the case. And my understanding is that some of the respondents were not served. So some of the cases are filed. I mean, the applications are filed just recently, and you need to give them ample time. The Supreme Court has the jurisdiction to look at its own judgment. There's no doubt about that. But the window is very, very small.
When you say small, how long do they have?
In terms of length of time, the court has all the time to do so. But remember, this is an election matter, and there's issue of time frame. But the court has the decision to look at these previous decisions and see whether there are slips and jurisdiction and things like that. But the matter is subject to, so we can't make comments on that. But I think what the court has done today is to ensure that all the parties are well informed and served, and everybody is given an opportunity to respond to the applications, both for the Imo and Zamfara states. All
right, we'd like to appreciate your time. Chinonye Obiagu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Minister.
Still to come on Lunchtime Politics, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili and friends, they're working on ideas on how to fix the ills in Nigeria's politics. We'll find out more when we return.